In a world where two short-term rental bros come together.
What?
Not in that way, bro. There's a podcast of truly epic proportions where we talk about all things short-term rental and shoot the shit along the way. Welcome to the Co-Host Bros Podcast. Here are your hosts, Matt Codd and Austin Spitz.
Hey, everybody, and welcome to another episode of the Co-Host Bros Podcast. My name is Matt Codd. I'm here with my good buddy, Austin Spitz, and today we have a special guest for you, Jonathan Farber, and he is a real estate investor. He owns short terms, long terms, done bookkeepings, hired over 200 VAs, and I'm sure there's probably more I missed, and we'll go into that today. So what's going on, Jonathan?
What's up, boys? Excited to be here. Thanks for having me.
I love it.
Yeah, no
I
problem.
love it.
Your surprise just
All right.
landed at my door. That's why I stuttered, Austin. I had told Austin
no.
before we started I had a surprise for him, and it just came to my door, so my ring went off, and it distracted me from the intro, so I apologize, everybody, for sucking it up. So,
Yeah, I feel like we haven't recorded in a while, so got to shake off the rust. But whatever. We're here. We're gonna do it. But yeah, Jonathan, if you want to just give us a quick rundown of what it is exactly you do and how you kind of got into the space. Just let our audience know kind of what you're all about.
For sure. So, yeah, I used to do a daily podcast. Also, I still do one now. So I'll keep it short-ish. And then, sometimes I remember they would just go for 30 minutes on their intro. So I'll try to keep it somewhat short. But corporate America from the age of 22 to 27 in Raleigh, North Carolina, I was doing sales. I got that job in kind of an interesting way. I just cold called the chairman of the company. It's like 12,000 person company, but he was the man and was super cool. And he's like, wow, you got the balls to call me. So come in, give you a shot. I didn't really have any experience, but he kind of took me under his wing, which was cool and just led to, some opportunity in the company. While I was there, I started buying real estate, typical stuff, bigger pockets, house hacks, value add, creative stuff. And just kept trying to do one or two deals a year. I knew that I didn't want to do the stuff I was doing forever, but I do like having that like vehicle to use to buy real estate. So I stayed in the job for as long as I kind of needed it, maxed out my loans and all those things. And then from there, I left that job early in COVID, and then I added some more units. I was living in different parts of the country, just trying to get stuff going. I lived in the Midwest. I lived in Florida, and then I ended up in Colombia, but I'll explain that, I guess, a little later. But anyway, just bought more properties and sort of consolidated the portfolio and just tried to kick out the bad ones, buy more good ones, and then, set up systems and got into a lot of stuff with virtual assistants just from having experience with it, from like content and my own real estate, just having VAs cold call or do property management or do deal analysis, stuff like that. And I think that's always just been a fun thing for me. But yeah, then during COVID, just kept scaling it, got to a point where I could leave the job, just had enough cash flow coming in. And yeah, then a few years ago, I was looking for a place to live, working from home. I didn't really want to be in the cold anymore in New York. So I started checking out places, and then I ended up in Medellin, Colombia, which is where I am now. I do 6 months here and then 6 months back in New York. And that's pretty much it. I still have the real estate. I have a bookkeeping company for real estate investors as well. I didn't realize how many people hated their bookkeeper, so that was kind of cool. But, really just started doing that with friends and family and people from a community, and then just started expanding that. So that's really what it is now. The real estate, the bookkeeping, I do a podcast as well. And then I pretty much work 6 months out of the year. And then the other 6 months out of the year, I just play golf tournaments in New York. So kind of just wanted to set it up that way. And kind of happened somehow. But yeah, that's, I guess, my full high level story.
So you're in Colombia right now? So everybody's clear. You're out of the country. You're not in the United States.
No, sir. Medellin. Got to come check it out.
Awesome.
So how did you, if you said your portfolio looked like what, like 15 units, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So, so how did you stack that many properties so quickly? Did you have a high W-2 income that allowed you to invest in it? Did you do some kind of creative financing, or how did you get to 15 units is my question.
Sort of like the Brandon Turner snowball method. For those that know or don't know, just like start with one, try to figure it out, take cash flow from it, take equity from it, put it into the next one. I did have somewhat high W-2. It wasn't like outrageous. The later years I was making more money just because it was sales and I could sort of just control my own destiny a little bit. But at the beginning, sorry, one sec, boys.
His camera just got drunk. We have blurry. Is it blurry, Austin? It's
Can you
blurry.
guys still hear me or no?
Yeah, but nobody, I don't think.
Yeah, we're gonna need you to
Yeah.
walk a straight line into the ABCs backwards,
Dang,
please.
my worst
I'm just kidding.
nightmare. I don't think I could do that sober. Um,
I don't think anybody could do that sober, honestly.
straight up. That's like guaranteed failure. So yeah, snowball method. But yeah, I did have a high income. I was in sales and I didn't need a fancy quality of life. I saw these people around me that were like, I just got my dream house at 23 or 24. Like, I just got a Lexus or BMW. I'm like, dude, why? Like, you could do that stuff later. Anyway, uh, lifestyle, I guess, different for everybody, which is all good. But I just wanted to try to take every dollar I had and put it in real estate. So, yeah, I mean, the deals just got bigger. I did do a few creative partnerships with people and then ended up buying them out or resold deals. And then I put it into deals of my own. I'm not a huge fan of partners. And then, yeah, the last one was a deal with a few people, an 8 unit deal that we just did in Kentucky. But the deal before that, I just bought myself in the Carolinas. So I guess long story short, I did have a decent W-2 income. I maxed that out, the loans I could get, the money that I could put towards down payments, and then I was just pulling equity out of properties and selling the ones that I thought had appreciated. Or I could roll into the next one, and then just kind of at this point I'm doing it 10 years, so it's not like a ton of units in 10 years, but in the 6 year period I did it, it was a lot more volume and I was just looking for deals every single day. So I guess, yeah, I had some business, some W-2 help, and then I was just constantly trying to think about how to get more deals.
No, it's definitely very impressive. So living below your means, kind of using the snowball effect, and combined with making, keeping your money, right? Like not spending it on the house to live in, driving maybe a junker vehicle for as long as you can withstand doing that. Like I can relate to that for sure because I definitely did all those things too, and it's been tremendously helpful. So I think that's a great note to our listeners, like live below your means and do that kind of stuff. Talk about your business today. What does it look like? I'm not too familiar with what you do, but I know it's VA stuff. So give me a rundown. What's your ideal client look like? And I'm sitting like, who's your ideal client, and who are you looking to help out there?
Yeah, I was doing so. Other than the real estate stuff, I had a real estate mastermind. I was doing real estate coaching, but I just didn't like it. Like it's definitely a way to make money, and a lot of people are doing it. But I also didn't think it was like the best time to tell beginner people to get into real estate. And I wasn't a fan of coaching. I just didn't enjoy it that much. Plenty of people still do it, obviously, but it just wasn't for me. So from the back end of that, I still had people that were kind of curious, like, hey, I like the VA stuff you're doing. I'm still interested in the STR stuff, like the systems and all that, but I wasn't doing coaching. So I started to offer a little bit of help with finding VAs for people, just as like a free thing for friends. And I had more than I needed from some searches I did. And then I just started doing that for people as like a service and, played around with it. It was mostly STR VAs and then like executive assistants or ops managers, just things that I used in my own business to, sort of get out of it. And then I decided that there was just too much going on. Like I went too wide with it. There were too many different types of VAs and people I was placing. But the bookkeeper niche just was more interesting to people. It seemed like we really did it well. And like I said jokingly before, like bookkeeping, I think is just it's really underserved for, I think, the 1 to like 30 unit real estate investor. I think it's either too expensive, or it was for me at least, or the quality just like sucked. So I was doing it for a few people already, not me, but like people that, I'd hired, and they were really capable people, and just sort of double down on that. And that's really been what I've stuck to as far as like the other part of the business, other than the the real estate. So ideal avatar, anyone in real estate, brokers, property managers, rental owners, co-hosts, people like that. And, like, we just want to provide simple stuff as far as like what I needed, which was just like a monthly and a weekly P&L, really fast communication, and just being affordable. And it seems like that's harder to come by than I first thought in real estate. So, those people are like our people that want that.
Yeah, I feel like there's not a lot of people in the industry. I mean, I guess in the real estate industry in general, and we could even say in the short-term rental industry, where if somebody were to really take the bookkeeping niche and make it affordable and get, be able to get people on and grow their business and actually grow it as a business, I feel like it could be a huge. I mean, you could be making gobs of money just doing it, because most people don't understand it, right? So it's a little more complicated, and then things like that is overwhelming for people, right? So so how many clients are you servicing right now?
Right now, I think 32, maybe 33. Yeah. Yeah.
Nice, that's awesome. And you guys do you do bookkeeping for, like, regardless, any real estate profession? If you own short-term rentals, you do bookkeeping for them. If they have long-term rentals, you do bookkeeping for them. Pretty much anybody, right?
Yeah. I mean, this was something that I just sort of had to learn. And maybe you guys have seen it with like different stuff in your own business. But like at first I was trying out a lot of different people. I had a friend who was a dentist. I had a friend that was a contractor, and, like, seeing what worked. And then, yeah, we just sort of found that since I was a real estate investor, like, I could maybe talk a little bit more to the real estate type of bookkeeping, and it just seemed to resonate with people. So yeah, most people in that space, maybe there's a niche of real estate that we haven't gotten to yet. I'm sure there is, but yeah, in general, brokers, property managers, investors, long term, short term, people just need P&Ls, reporting, and just maybe want to make tax time a little easier. Like for me, it kind of, I got a real kick in the butt for this, because I overpaid my taxes one year by 26 grand, and I was like, oh, by the way, I actually still haven't gotten that money back, which is kind of fun, from 2021. But I found out about it like a year and a half ago. So yeah, I realized like there's a need, and a lot of people are just charging crazy stuff for it.
So if you're looking at a smaller business or something along those lines, or you're meeting with somebody that's a potential prospect for someone to work with you, what are some of the biggest mistakes that you see people make? If it was like someone like me, it would just be like not doing it. But like, I don't know, what are some of the biggest mistakes you see in regards to clients that you come across where, what do you see?
How much time you guys got? Um,
Give me two or three. Let's
We got
see.
about 45 minutes, so I
the
mean,
biggest one is people.
just keep
The,
them
the biggest
interested.
one is people just don't do it, and then and like or either just don't do the bookkeeping or don't even file taxes. Um, that's probably number one, which I was really surprised about. The other is a lot of commingling of accounts, like having crazy bank account structures or overly simplified bank account structure. I'd say most people, believe it or not, they err on the side of like complicated bookkeeping bank account structures. They have like 3 properties and like 10 bank accounts. Or usually that's the side people make that mistake on. Yeah, and then I don't know. I think like it's a mistake that I see people make is like then they do it, but they just hate doing it, and they do it. You can outsource it so inexpensively that it's like, why make life miserable? That was me for a long time, for years, few years, or just like I knew I could outsource it, but I was like, no, nobody understands the details like me, or like someone's gonna make mistakes or whatever. And then that did happen, but still, it was still better than doing it myself and just doing it wrong and miserable. So yeah, I'd say not doing it, and then commingling or creating too many accounts or not enough accounts, and then doing it themselves and just hating it, making mistakes.
Yeah, that's like, see how that's hard. I mean, most people hate bookkeeping. Um, my wife's pretty. She works in finance, so I try to utilize her. It's funny because she's like, "Oh yeah, I'll do all the bookkeeping, but then come tax time, I'm the one over here moving stuff around." But it's we have a yin to the yang. But so I like this because you're not just strictly short term rental. You're an investor. You have other properties. You've owned, like we said earlier, a VA business. You own a bookkeeping business. Um, let's just say if I was you, if I was just like starting out right now, and I was like, hey, what can I do to get my first property? What kind of property should I get? Should I get a short term rental or a long term rental, you think? And what would be the best way for me to go about that?
Man, I don't even know that I'd recommend someone to get into the game right now. Like, looking at it neutrally, you ask a real estate coach, of course they're going to say like get into real estate. You ask a real estate broker, they're going to say get into real estate. I don't know. Like, I think in a lot of markets the competition is crazy. Like, it's hard for me to find deals that pencil at this point, and like I used to have 3 full-time VAs. All they were doing was deal finding, analysis, cold calling, emailing, skip tracing, and we killed it because it was just the number of deals we were finding with interest rates, and like the increased saturation was so high. I think if I was going to do a deal right now, I think I would do a Section 8 deal, honestly. I think I would probably go to the Midwest and find like a $50,000 house or a small multifamily and do Section 8 with it. Like, I have a few friends that do Section 8 now. Like, that's the thing. I was kind of known for STR stuff, but like I'm not agnostic. It's not the only strategy. Like, the ball can move. So I think, Section 8, there is definitely still, I think, some in pocket shortages of housing, or there's a stronger rental demand than a buying demand. And I think that's what I would do. Like, either I guess one of two things: either like a baller STR property, like, maybe if $1 to $2 million, and then spend, maybe 1 to 300,000 in amenities. I think that model still works and still crushes. So if someone can do that, but that's definitely just like harder. Not that many people have just, like a couple 100,000 cash chilling.
Yeah.
But the Section 8 and the lower cost stuff in the middle of the country, like, there's still very strong demand for that. The rents are guaranteed. It's definitely a little bit of a tougher crowd, but the cash flow is higher, and that's a trade off. And the stakes to get in are lower. I mean, I still think house hacking is great, but I think I'm going to be a lifetime renter. So I don't think I'm ever going to buy a primary, or at least not for a while. But anyway, I would say either like a baller STR property, or some Section 8 singles, or small multi.
Yeah. So you'd mentioned you moved a number of times. So you're renting throughout this whole process, right? You're not like buying these houses and then moving and then turning them into
Yeah.
rentals.
I've house hacked. I house hacked 3 times, but that was like early on in the journey. Kind of like, at the time I was having fun with it. When I look back, I was living super like frugal and below my means, and like, roommates and all that. And yeah, but no, ever since I got, I guess, somewhat like stable enough, I've just always rented furnished housing.
So for our listeners, and we don't want to assume that everyone knows what house hacking is, but I do, and Matt does. But go ahead, break it down. What did that look like? How did you do it? What kind of units? What kind of property was it that you house hacked? How'd you go about it? Just break down how you were specifically doing house hacking, because it's such a great way to build wealth. And I kind of did it, but anyways, it doesn't matter what I did. But what you go ahead, tell me your story. Tell our
Yeah, I
people
think it's
about it.
still good. I think it's great for beginners, but yeah, it's buying a property that you're going to live in yourself, and because you live in it, you can get different types of loans from banks that are really attractive and nice, meaning you can put down very little money, have a typically very low interest rate relative to the other interest rates, and then rent out the other rooms or the other units. So if it's a single family house, you rent out the other rooms, you either break even or you make money to live, which is amazing because if you look at, like I don't know if you guys are into personal finance, like FI, 4% rule, all that. Like I was obsessed with that stuff for a while because I'm like, how do I get to financial independence the fastest? For most people, housing is like 2 to 4x higher than any of their other costs. So if you can flip it so that it's not a cost, but actually something that makes money, it's pretty epic. So yeah, that's what house hacking is. You buy something low money down, low interest rate, rent out the rooms, and you can do one a year with that model until you hit a certain limit or depending on your situation. But in general, you can do it multiple times. And what that means is for those years, you have no living costs. It's unbelievable. And then you could turn it into a rental when you move out if you do it over and over. So that was exactly what I was doing. So it's good.
Yeah, I think it's like a huge wealth builder, and it's kind of something like for the most part, you only have that time window in your younger years where it's kind of an option to do this. So if a lot more younger people are listening or looking to do that, like right out of college or whatever, as soon as they have money, buying a 4 or 5 bedroom house and renting the other 4 rooms out, and to your point, eliminating what in life is your biggest expense, which is rent or mortgage. Man, if you could do that, like if I could go back in time, that's what I would do. I would do that. I would have done more
Yeah.
of those. So I think it's huge. And then you stack a house hack property that you're getting in your early 20s that can potentially go for the next 30 years and start accumulating wealth that way. So I think it's awesome.
Yep. 100%. It's a great strategy. It's definitely an amazing starter strategy. Um, I don't know why I thought of this when you're saying I would still roll my eyes at it. Like sometimes I would talk to people when I was like the same age as them. They're like 24, 25, like still like super young. And they're like, oh, like I can't do it now. I got a girlfriend or I got a wife or a dog. And I'm like, bullshit. Like, of course you could do it. Like, you're just making up excuses. Like, or
That's exactly what I was thinking when Austin was saying that. Like, oh, well, yeah, if you're single, make sure because a lot of people are going to have problems doing it
I'm
when they're
like,
not.
yeah, dump that girl because your life is gonna suck.
Yeah.
Like, you're doing this all wrong. But again, like, listen, that's the beauty of capitalism. The people that want it, they get it done. The people that don't, they just make excuses. So there's nothing holding anybody back. But it's like once somebody sees the light and they know the potential and then they still don't do it, I mean, you could only lead a horse to water. So it's like that's why we're here on this conversation. That's why you boys are killing it. And you got what you want. And everyone has that opportunity because it's like you did stuff. So yeah, but it's a great strategy. You could do it. I'll admit you could do it at any time. It is easier to do it when you got less strings and less people to deal with.
Yeah, I think that's kind of the point I was trying to make. I mean, you could do it. Yeah, exactly what you said. Anytime you want to do it, but there is that window where it's like, it's just more ideal,
Totally,
right? But
100%.
anyways, yeah, that
Yeah,
great
I think with
strategy though,
house
for sure.
hacking too, like if you're renting out rooms, I think that you could do that in almost any market for the most part and be able to cover your mortgage or even make more money off of it if you're renting it room wise. I mean, maybe some markets you might need to be, triplex or fourplex, but maybe a duplex won't work. But I mean, if you're renting out, you buy a 5 bedroom house and you're renting out 4 of those bedrooms, I don't think it matters where you live that you're going to make your money back. Like pretty much, you're almost guaranteed as long as you can keep it rented and you have, good copacetic and everyone's good to go. Everyone's copacetic is what I meant. But yeah, I mean,
And you got
yeah,
to
it's
think about
incredible.
you got to think about the people that are like renting from you too. Like more than likely, people that want a room are, you know, not necessarily, but likely young professionals. So if you are later in life, you may not want to live with a bunch of 20-year-old dudes, right? Like that's when I was living after I got out of college. I was living with like 4 or 5 dudes in this frat house, paying $300 a month for my share of rent, and I was like, damn, I could have just bought the house and charged these jokers, but I didn't.
Yeah,
So
I mean, however you can do it. Like I know I kind of said,
yeah,
maybe STRs. I don't know that that's the best thing to do right now, but do something. Like the average, it's a crazy stat. The average difference in net worth between a renter and a homeowner is, I think the renter is, their net worth is like 11,000 and the homeowner is like 400,000. So it's like you got to just figure out a way to do it.
Yeah, do something, anything, do anything. I mean, anything. Find a strategy and go in on that strategy, and complete it once and be like, cool, I did it. Let me try something different. Whatever you got to do, right? It's like, do something. Don't just sit here and like listen to everybody talk and be like, oh, well, that sounds great, but I can't do that. Bullshit. You can do it. Anybody can do it. You just have
Yep.
to do it. There's ways to do things, and I don't think people understand that. I was telling my son the same exact thing because he's almost 15 and we're talking about, he's like, oh, well, he might want to go in the military. And I said, look, dude, if you go in the military, that's the best opportunity for you. And he's like, why? And I said, because you can get a VA loan, you can stack cash, you can go buy a house hack the house. You could probably buy a fourplex, house hack that, and then go buy another one and still be on base most of the time anyway. Like, you're good to go. And he was like, oh, yeah, I never thought about it like that. So we'll see. My son might become a house hacker, but,
Oh, yeah.
We'll find out what
Love it.
happens. But so since we're breaking down different kind of process besides short-term rental, which I love that we're breaking different things down, let's break down, if I were to buy that Section 8 property, what exactly, explain to everybody what Section 8 is. Some people might not even know what Section 8 is. So just explain it to them, if there's a process and what you do to be able to accomplish that.
Section 8 is buying a property, just like a lot of the other strategies, and then finding a tenant, but instead of just a quote unquote normal tenant, these are special tenants. They get assistance from the government,
Special.
meaning the government pays most of their rent. So they're not liable for most of the rent. It might be like the government pays 90% of the rent. Don't ask me what these people do or don't do, but they just stay home all day. They just chill. Like they don't work for whatever reason, but they just hang out. But anyway, you might think, all right, that's kind of weird, but they're also somewhat on their best behavior because most of these people, they have terrible credit. They don't have a lot of money. They don't have a job. But they get this program assistance through Section 8. And if they mess up, destroy the property, or they're a bad tenant, or, commit a crime, they will lose that permit. They'll lose the ability to rent Section 8. So, yeah, they might, they're just because of the demographic, like, of the person. I'm not saying what they look like. I'm just saying their income level. Like there are trends that, the properties might get banged up more. Or they might make some bad decisions. That's typical, but in general, like they're usually pretty decent tenants, and the rent is guaranteed, as opposed to a tenant that is just a regular tenant that might lose their job and then stop paying rent. So that's what Section 8 is, high level.
What do you mean by guaranteed, though? So, like, the government's going to pay part of it, but am I guaranteed to get the money from the tenant, too? If they don't pay, then they lose their Section 8, or there's a little more safe
Pretty
fail
much.
there?
I mean, the government could fail, could be a revolution, could just, not have a government, but that's less likely than the tenant not paying. But usually the government or the program, they're going to be paying the high majority of it. So you do want the tenant to pay their portion, but it's a lot of times like just maybe $50 or $100. Like it's very minimal. And yeah, if they don't pay, they're going to get in trouble, either.
And you get the market rate, too, as well? Or you have to have a lower rate? So, like, if the house normally rents for $3,200, can you still rent it at that? Or you need to rent it
It's
lower?
actually
Like a
renting.
certain
It actually
amount
rents
that they'll
higher.
pay? Or
So normally, like a house
Oh.
that's maybe rents for 1,500 normally, it might rent for 1,900 on Section 8, because the government's trying to incentivize people to do this because there is a shortage for those types of housing, or at least that's what they say. Yeah.
Wow. So I think that's good to know. Everybody should know that. There's also many other strategies, but those are two of them that you touched on. So that's fantastic. I like creative financing. I think it's amazing the things that you could do. Yeah, so so since you've been building businesses and things like that, what up, my fellow co-hosts, bros and gals? This is Matt here from the Co-host Bros podcast. Look, STRIQ is insane. It's like Zillow property finding. I use this for comparables to show my owners. I create a comp set. I'm like, here, this is what it is. This is how I can help you. This is what I could do. But look, here's the deal. I talked to Matt Sanderson. We had a couple conversations and I was able to get some stuff for you guys. I was able to lock it in. So first, I locked in a 7-day free trial. Any plan you sign up for, automatically 7-day free trial, cancel anytime. Second, you want to go monthly because you don't want to pay for a year or for a quarter. Cool. Use co-host bros 10. I got you 10% off of that monthly subscription. But wait, if you want to go quarterly, I got you 15% off of that. So use co-host bros 15 if you want to use a quarterly subscription. If you want to go annual, first of all, the most biggest bang for your buck, cheapest monthly, plus I got you 20% off. Co-host bros 20. And once again, don't forget there's a 7-day free trial and it's going to blow your mind. So why not start today? All right, back to the show. What's like the hardest thing to do with building a business and making it, grow and all those things profitable?
Man, I guess it depends where you're at in it, if you have one or you don't. I think for people that don't have it, it's really consistency around marketing and sales. Like, there's so many ways, even outside of there's ways I think if someone doesn't want to work a W2 that are better than a W2, or you can make money faster. Like, you could be 18 years old and just do high ticket sales closing for people and make 15 grand a month. Or you could become a copywriter for someone, or you could do Facebook ads for someone, and you just need a few clients paying you 2, 3, 5,000 a month, and you're doing great. It just, what I think stops most people from the beginning is acquiring the skills and then doing the sales and outreach stuff. I mean, acquiring skills is one thing. I think if you're being bad at something, it's not always fun to do it and sustain it, So it's like, all right, if I want to start a ghostwriting agency, but I suck at writing. Well, okay, there's also a lot of other tools, ChatGPT, Claude, Grok, there's plenty of material on YouTube or how to write, and you can just model what other people are doing and you can get clients and you can make money that way. But I think learning the skills, for whatever reason, people kind of quit before they get going. So I don't know. I like doing things in 90-day sprints. So for me, like, even when we pivoted to the bookkeeping, I was like, I'm going to do this for 90 days. We're going to direct all of our effort towards it for 90 days. See how many clients we can get. We got a good amount of clients, good amount of revenue, and there was proof of concept. But like, I wasn't going to change the thing for 90 days. I was going to prospect every day. I was going to do sales calls. I was going to do marketing every day for those 90 days. So consistency, I guess, in the skill acquisition, but then also in the sales acquisition. I think people, understandably, I'm not like a robot. If someone rejects me, I don't feel great about myself. But I think for the people that succeed, that doesn't hold them back as much. Like, for me, like, if I want to grow a business, I need to prospect every day, or I need to have people on my team prospecting every day, sending DMs or cold calling, follow up. So it's just like, that consistency, I would say, starting, getting the skills, and then pushing through it. But like, it's never been a more exciting time, especially with AI, to do any of those things. Like, you can just learn how to do it and have help from, or honestly, what I think is an amazing business right now? Being an AI consultant. Like, go to every mom and pop business. You could be 18 years old. Go to every mom and pop business and explain how you can help them digitize or learn about AI or get more customers with AI or cut costs with AI, remove people or process in their business. Like, amazing opportunity. But that's a skill. Like, some people are like, oh, I don't want to have to learn AI, or I don't have to whatever. Like, I'd rather go play soccer. Like, all right, cool. All good. And then the sales of it, you got to go out and get customers, do free work for people, get testimonials, get referrals, like, ask people to give you money, which there's rejection involved in that. That's hard, but it's like, if people just had a thing and they prospected for 90 minutes every day, there's no way it would fail. zero. Like you'd have more business than you'd know what to do with. But look at someone's calendar. That's not what's happening most of the time.
So, okay, repeat that. What you just said, just repeat what you just said, because I don't think people are grasping it, because there's a lot of people on here who are trying to build businesses and trying to get clients. What should they do every day? Just how long a day should they do? And then they could possibly just they wouldn't fail, right? Spend 90 minutes a day.
90 minutes a day. Just download all your phone contacts, download every email contact you have. You can go on Facebook, you could export all your Facebook friends. LinkedIn, you could export all your LinkedIn contacts. I think on LinkedIn you get email too. And yeah, just go to these people with whatever your thing is. Hey, do you know anyone that's looking for this? Like, of course you can get more tailored with your scripts, but it's like, you're just looking for, at the beginning, the person that's going to give you a shot. Hey, anyone looking for this? I'm doing this for free for 5 people. You know what's another good one I think right now? Pricing optimization. Like I think there's so many co-hosts out there with no differentiator. And I think it's really saturated and really hard for co-hosts to expand. But I've had a few people on the podcast that, they have a specialty within co-hosting, which is like such a way to stand out. Like they're revenue optimizers, or they're like SEO and direct booking specialists. Like they can stand out from it. So like that's a way. If you do, let's say, STR revenue management or revenue optimization for people, you reach out to everyone in your contacts, say, hey, I'm looking for 5 people to do this for. You don't have to pay anything. If I can't increase your revenue 20% in the next 3 months, I'll give you $500. Like whatever, get creative with different, read Alex Hormozi's $100 million offers. Like I get crazy and creative with my bookkeeping offers because like I know we can fulfill and I'll do the work. So it's like, hey, if I'm presenting an offer to someone on bookkeeping, I'll be like, we'll do this, maybe a free month, whatever. If you don't like it, I'll give you your money back plus $500. Like get people in. But again, I would say 90 days, reach out to everyone on your list, offer to do free work, have a guarantee, have something maybe special or different. And there's no way it won't work, period. Like show me the numbers and I'll show you that it works. And if you don't, then something is really, really wrong. You don't know how to talk to people. Like you might not speak the language, but that's okay. Figure that out too. But yeah, it's a can't miss, but it's simple. It's not always easy.
So I guess
it's like the 3rd time that book's been mentioned.
Yeah, it's great. I mean, his stuff is amazing.
It's a great book. I love the book. I'm sorry, Austin, to interrupt you.
Oh no, I was just gonna say I definitely agree with you. And then there's those first, and especially when you're getting started, like the working for free and money back guaranteed, all that stuff, and maybe even later on down the road. But do you think there's a point where you draw the line where you're established enough, you're raising your prices, the demand for you is there? Is that still something you entertain doing these days now that you've built up your business? Are you going to do that all day long, or do you think there's a line to draw to where you're established enough and say, hey, this is our prices, this is what we do?
If anyone takes one thing from this podcast, if you're still with us at this point, 36 minutes in, remember this: make the offer so good they feel stupid saying no. That's the way to sell stuff. That makes selling easy and not sleazy and not salesy and easy. Like if they don't feel like they're going to get the value from the thing 10 times more than whatever you're charging, then you need to really sell hard and you need to do a lot of the stuff, Grant Cardone or like whoever, sales trainers we're talking about. But like, yeah, I mean, sure, there's certain things I did for special, folks at the beginning when I was just getting started because I needed them more than they needed me. Like I needed feedback. I needed testimonials. I needed process improvements myself. I had no idea what I was doing. Like I think some of the dumbest advice people give or get is to start with charging premium prices. Like, co-host going out there, I'm only looking for $300,000 revenue properties. I'm charging 25% rev. I've never done this before. Good luck. Like, why would anyone do that? So you need for both sides to get experience, get confidence. And then, yeah, but as far as if I change my offer, I always want it to feel like a no-brainer for people. So like my whole thing is, it's also in sales. It's really hard for someone to make a decision until they know what it's going to be like working with you. I'm sure we've all bought something at some point where the sales guy said a lot and the fulfillment wasn't a lot. The fulfillment sucked. So it's like I am always trying to think, how can I just get someone to try this? Give them a little hit, little drug addict, drug dealer metaphor there, like get them in, and then it's on us to fulfill and make them love us, and then they shouldn't want to leave after that. So yeah, I do stuff all the time. I mean, I don't work for free anymore, but from time to time, I'll do offers where it's like, hey, you don't pay for 30 days, we'll work for free. And only if you don't cancel or you like what's going on, we'll charge you on day 31. Because it's like, I want to remove the fear. I get scared buying stuff. I don't know if someone's going to fulfill on what they say. Again, it's just saying words. I need the action. So I'll always try to do stuff that lets people feel more comfortable and, gets them in. And then, because it's like, once you have a customer, that's a testimonial, that's a referral, that's improving your system or your process. Like, especially if your margins are good, which like we have really good margins. So I want as many people in as possible. And we have a sick affiliate program. So it's like, once someone's a customer, I pay them a ton also for helping us get more people. And then, like there's just a lot, I guess, more reasons to bring someone in a creative way. I think if the margins are good and like if they have a high lifetime value, then not. So sorry, long answer, but just a lot of thoughts on it.
No, it's good. You're definitely passionate about it. I want to go back to something you said, and I've noticed it a lot. And I think you make a very good point. What I see for a lot of people, at least getting started, and maybe I was guilty of this myself. I don't think I was, but maybe. And they're coming in because they maybe managed their own, or they own their own property, or maybe they don't even own their own property, and they're out there saying, "I'm only going to manage these kind of properties with these kind of owners that make this much money." But you haven't done shit yet. Like, you have no resume, you have nothing to back it up. So it's like a lot of people that I've seen do that, they either never ended up getting started, or they had to lower their buy box, for example, for their first property to be 150K to 40K, because you got to take that property first to get those reps in before you can be the guy. It's who you have to become to be the property manager that manages the 150K properties, because I hate to tell you this, everybody wants those, right? So what are you doing to set yourself different? And if I'm on a sales call uh, versus somebody that's getting their first property, I mean, it's just it's not going to happen, right? Like, so I think you make a good point of people setting a bar too high for themselves. It's not to say that you can't be ambitious or anything like that, or that you can't do it. If you bag your first property and it's 150K gross revenue producing property, like, that's great. Like, just tell me to shut up, and you won. But like, at the same time, I think you're right. Like, you have to demonstrate your value first before anything.
Yeah. I mean, it's hard to know what you can really offer or provide until you're doing it. And the same goes for the customers too, like if this is a good experience or not. So yeah, I guess stand out, come up with something different. I think that's super important. Like, be prepared to answer the question, why you, or what makes you different. There should be something that makes you different. And everyone is saying because we get higher revenues or whatever. Like, if there's no guarantee, no specialty, no nothing, like, falls flat for me. Unless someone's like a killer referral and the business is referrals, which I think is a great business, but that's a whole different like customer acquisition strategy. So for sure.
I want to go back to bookkeeping for a second. If anybody's listening and they're having trouble with their bookkeeping, doing it themselves, that's obviously a sign that they need help. But at what point in your business journey should you seek out a bookkeeper? When it starts to suffer from day one? Maybe day one you don't have the funds to be able to afford that recurring expense. In your opinion, when's the ideal time to leverage bookkeeping?
I guess I'm looking at it like there's two parts. There's doing bookkeeping yourself, and then there's outsourcing it. At the beginning, I imagine for most people, you're not killing it. So there's no shame in doing it yourself. But what I would say is, if you despise it, if you want to run into traffic every time you sit down to do your bookkeeping, then that's probably a good cue. You got to give it to somebody. Otherwise, it just won't get done. So it's like, I guess, yeah, if you could do it yourself, first, I don't know, 1 through 3 or 1 through 5 properties, you can do it. And if you don't hate it, then definitely do it. But if you can't stand it, like for me, I just couldn't stand it. And because I couldn't stand it, it would be the longest 30 minutes or longest 30 minutes. It would turn into 2 hours every Sunday for me. And I just hated it. So I was like, all right. And it's not expensive. So, you know, if you have some revenue or profit in your business that you can outsource it, it's a couple $100. Like usually there's a pretty good ROI on it. And if you, for most people, this is another, I'd say good exercise. Come up with your dollar per hour, like value. You know, if you make 300 grand a year, I'm not going to do public math here, but you have a pretty high dollar per hour. Okay. And whatever that dollar per hour is, like try to delegate under that. If it's something that you don't like doing, you're not good at, or it doesn't make the business money, and you just live in the areas that you're good at, you like, and make the business money. And then everything else that's, let's say, you know, your dollar per hour, this is terrible. I could chat GPT it or guess it, but let's say it's your perfect.
144.
So,
144, 23, 23.
So anything less than that can drive the business, and you don't like doing it, or you're not good at it, I'd say those are good starting points. You know, and if someone's making, so you said it was 144, so if you're making $150,
that's 300,000.
So anyway,
you said
you could figure out the math, but yeah, either do it yourself, or if you hate doing it, get help. Or if you get to a point where it's just so much less than your dollar per hour, that's the other time I'd say to do it.
Or if
you don't know how much you're worth, take your W-2. So whatever your W-2 is you're trying to get out of, take that, divide it by 2080, which is how many hours in a year based on 40-hour work week, and set that as your value. So
for sure. And that's, you can think about anything in your life. You know, I don't like cooking. I don't like cleaning. I don't do that stuff because I get out, you know, you could find somebody to do it for less. So it's like, I can just focus on stuff that's going to make money, or I don't, you know, want to kill myself. That's what I'm going to do. You know, again, for beginners, when you don't have it, but you can find little arbitrages in your life and business, no matter what level you're at. And, you know, like, here's another thing. Everyone that's listening to this should be using ChatGPT Operator. It's $200 a month. It replaces most tasks of an EA, which a low level EA in the Philippines, that might be $800 to $1,200 a month. Right there, you're arbitraging $600 to $1,000 a month. Okay. And like, that's a useful skill. If people aren't using that tool anyway, like, you're losing to the people that are. So it's double win. Get the skill and you save money. So it's like, it's an arbitrage, you know, it's you're skimming. So it's like, that's the goal.
Yeah, so I'm doing a lot of this what you just mentioned now. So hopefully, like in a few weeks, I'll have some reporting back. You're probably a lot farther along in the process of doing that kind of stuff. But in regards to using ChatGPT to its full potential, having it learning everything about you, your work style, your ambitions, your goals, you know, submitting a personality test to it, just so it like kind of figures you out, submitting your significant other's love language so you can, you know, figure out how to communicate better. And I've been starting to go down this rabbit hole on ChatGPT and AI, and I don't feel like I'm late to the party, but I also don't think I'm, you know, ahead of anyone else. But to be fair, I'm having that aha moment to where I'm like really understanding the capabilities and the things that you can do. Like literally everything is coming down to a point. It's like, instead of who can do this for me, it's like, okay, how can ChatGPT do this for me better than the who could do it for me?
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm just having an
I don't think you're
epiphany.
late. Dude, like,
No,
there's
started.
millions of people that are still on cable in the US. Like, dude, you're not late at all. It's just maybe in the bubble of, like, you know, Twitter tech or real estate Facebook groups, like, that might be the bubble that we think, oh wow, but like, no one is on this stuff big picture. So if you could just get on it and get some edge, like, I probably use ChatGPT 10 to 15 or ChatGPT, Claude, Grok, you know, like, dude, like, I hate making PowerPoints. There's a tool called Gamma. You literally just give it a topic and it'll create a whole slide deck for you. Or you could give it a bullet points on a topic, and it'll like, there's so many things. So it's like you ask these tools, what else can I do? They'll tell you, like they can teach you. Like it's amazing. So I mean, it's even part of our interview process now. The people we interview and bring in, like they need to know this stuff, or like have some semblance of it, or use it on a test project in an interview. Like if not, you know, you might not be like as much of a growth mindset person as you think. And some people that come into our ecosystem, they think that, oh no, this, that, like we want to see people that can evolve and people that can do the most work with the least effort. Like, I don't know who would be against that, but that's the goal. If, you know, you want to like scale and have, you know, we only have a certain time on the earth. So like, let's make the most of it. And that's what we want for our team and people. And like, yeah. So anyway, not to get like high horse there, but you're not late, and there's so many ways to like have fun and mess with it now. It's amazing.
Yeah, I think if you're
You're
not,
smarter.
yeah, if you're not utilizing it, you're in business in a competitive atmosphere. It's just, in my opinion, it's a matter of time before you're going to get passed up by the people that are utilizing it to its full potential. So, I don't know. We'll see. I'm just going to keep learning because I've been fascinated with it. But like not the basics of pulling up the Chat GPT app and asking it questions, like really feeding the beast and having it, you know, really work for you. And I've been utilizing that a little bit, and then not as well versed on certain other AI like Claude and Perplexity, but I'm throwing those in there. But it kind of brings me to another point. Or is there a couple ways you could maybe share how you're utilizing some of these services daily or in your business? You say you do it like 10 times a day. So what's maybe a shortcut you've used recently that's kind of helped you out?
First one that comes to mind, I was like, hey, employment contracts. Maybe this is a terrible idea, but like for the most employees that are like, they're in the Philippines anyway, but like for the most part, I just need something. And like, it's just something that needs to look official and be legit. But like, I ask it like legal questions all the time of what kind of clause should we put in a contract to protect us against, you know, someone leaving or taking a client, or, you know, a client doing something we don't want or whatever. Like, that's kind of maybe a crazy use case, maybe not. I don't know. But anyway, that's one. I had it just like yesterday, I had it help finalize our comp plan for our company. Like I'm like, it's just something that I tinker with a lot in the business of like how to incentivize people. Either like, you know, you get a bonus the longer you stay, you get a bonus for the whole team staying together. Like I want people to be incentivized, and like, because turnover is so expensive and so disruptive. So it's like, if I can bonus everyone for picking someone else on the team up who's struggling so they don't leave, you know, like that's cool too. So anyway, I worked on a whole comp plan with it of like how we can bonus people to focus more on retention versus performance versus savings in the business. And like, I wouldn't have been able to think of that on my own, straight up. And like, now I have a plan that we just rolled out. Meeting agendas, like give us a way that we can implement EOS into our business without us having to read or do EOS. I mean, I've read EOS, like I've worked with EOS consultants, but like, I don't know, I don't want to bring them back in. Pitches, scripts, objection handling. Prospect just said this to me, what do we do? Airbnb guest just said this to me, what do we do? This cleaner is being a weirdo, how should we respond to them? Like, read this book or answer this message as if you were Alex Hermosi and Grant Cardone. You just had a baby. Like, I don't know. Here's one. I couldn't figure out how to do a certain Excel formula. I was for like an hour. I was like trying to figure out the math on something, how to make it feed into a sheet and then like pull to another place. ChatGPT just built it for me, the whole thing. And then I literally just copied the formula into the Google Doc, and it worked perfect. Here's another one, and then I'll shut up. I was designing a new room in one of our properties. I was designing a golf simulator, and I live out of the country. I don't even live out of state. I'm out of country. So everything is virtual. So I was messing around with like engineering, architecture, like room design software. PS, they're toast. These softwares, they suck. They're so complicated. They're so clunky. They're expensive. You need to make an account. All I did was I went to ChatGPT and I was like, hey, here's the dimensions of the room. Here's the dimensions of all the furniture. Design my room for me to scale. And it did. And I had a perfect build out. I could send it to you guys of where the poker room, the poker table was going to be, where the golf enclosure and golf simulator was going to sit, where the couch was going to sit, where the pinball machine was going to sit. It had it all done. So then when everything got delivered there, the picture that the guys were holding and printed out was just what ChatGPT built. So I don't know. I use it for way more than that, but those are just some ones that came to mind.
Yeah. AI is cool. I was telling people a couple weeks back, I used AI and wrote me like an 85 email funnel to co-host prospects, right? So, and I promise you guys I'll do a live training on how to set it all up, but someday. I keep saying I will, and I haven't got there yet. I wanted to touch on a lot of things because it's funny because you were talking about it, and Austin talks about this all the time about doing, like, having somebody else do it for you. Like, what is your hourly worth? And it's funny because I think we were talking another episode and Austin had said something about grocery shopping. And I just thought in my head, like, I fucking like grocery shopping because my shit's always messed up. And then it's like, I don't want somebody else to do it for me because I won't get I won't get the lettuce the way I want it or whatever the case may be. And then it's been like 4 weeks. So about 4 weeks ago, I was really busy and I was like, okay, fuck it. I'm gonna get my shit delivered, whatever. It's like $15. Now every week I'm getting my groceries delivered. I just saved like 2 to 4 hours of my day going grocery shopping because then you're going grocery shopping, then your wife's like, let's go to Home Goods and let's go here and let's go there. And I'm like, fuck, and my wallet's like, fuck, and running away. And so it's like I save so much time by spending $15 extra, and I don't have to go to the store. And it's funny because I wanted to touch on that because I knew Austin would enjoy that. Because that's the first thing that I thought when they were talking about that. And I was just like, I just don't want someone to mess it up. But I have that problem sometimes too. Like, I don't want to let it go because if I let it go, then they're not going to do it as good as me. Right. And that's a hard thing to conquer for people in general, especially with like business and managing people and things like that and projects. It's like, well, what if they fuck it up? Okay, so what if they fuck it up? What are you gonna do then?
Yeah,
You're gonna fix it.
I'm trying to take it one step further, man. I'm trying to eliminate the cooking now. So I want to figure out some kind of meal prep delivery service. So I don't even have to do the cooking anymore because that's at an hour a day there. So I don't know. We'll see how that goes, but that's on my bucket list for sure.
Especially meal prepping. Because I feel like last month I literally meal prep for the whole week, but it's like it takes forever.
Yeah.
It's like, can I figure out a faster way to do this? Like, I mean, yeah, it's just you just don't think about the things, and we're in that kind of society nowadays where it's like, if you want it, you can get it. So figure out how to get it, and if they don't have it, figure out how to make it have, and then make a bunch of money. I mean, fuck, So yeah.
For sure.
It's crazy, and I don't really have. I mean, I can ask other questions, but we're short on time, and I appreciate you coming on. And there was a couple other things I wanted to touch on, but I drew a blank now with that grocery shopping thing. I felt so proud of myself. So if you just tell everybody where they could find you, if they want to sign up for your bookkeeping, they can. You could drop me the link, and I can put it in the show notes, and we'll wrap it up, man.
Yeah, I'll give you guys. If anyone wants to get in touch, not even just to become a client, but if you just have a question, like if your bookkeeping takes longer than 30 minutes a month, hit me up. Like, I could save you time. I have 15 units. Like, that's as much time as it takes me a month. Yeah, Facebook, I answer all my messages, Instagram, LinkedIn. My name's Jonathan Farber. You'll find it. If anyone needs, I give out all my templates for free. If anyone needs a P&L template, a balance sheet template, a net worth generator template, just hit me up. I'll give those to you. Or if you ever want to get on a call, happy to just walk through how I do my own bookkeeping, how I work with bookkeepers. Or if you had any questions or you just don't like your bookkeeper, or if you're paying too much, like, for most people, bookkeeping should probably, like, I don't know, if you have under 10 units, Like if you're paying more than a few $100, like paying too much, like in my opinion, at least. So yeah, happy to chat. If anyone has any questions, I'm not pushy. I'm just, like talking to people, meeting people. And yeah, so I'll give all my contact, but if anyone wants to get in touch, feel free to do so. Don't be shy, and appreciate having me on, boys.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, I think that's great. I think you have a lot of value to be able to offer people. So you guys make sure you reach out to Jonathan. I do also want to mention that we're going to be selling hats pretty soon. Austin doesn't know yet. Congratulations, Austin. But I got a little setup here on some hats. So they'll be dropped on our website soon. If you want one ahead of time, you could DM me. They're $25. We'll ship them to you for free. Right now, all I have is black. If you don't know what that looks like, just go look at any of my pictures. I always have one on my head, except for sometimes I don't. But for the most part, anyway, we appreciate everybody listening. We appreciate you coming, Jonathan. And we'll just let Austin wrap it up for us. Oh, and this episode we'll post today. So this is the very rare occasion that we're behind the episode, and I post the episode immediately. So your episode will be posted in probably about 30 minutes after we wrap this up, because I'm a day late and $1 short. So
all good.
Thanks so much.
Thanks, boys.
Awesome. Well, thanks for coming on, man.
All
Peace.
right, later, guys.
The Co-Host Bros Podcast.